What's going on, everybody? Patriots post-game show. We've got Mike Kadlic and Taylor House. Where are those guys?
There we are.
John Zannis alongside Greg Bedard.
Dig, he looked electric tonight.
It feels like they're back to a team that can really compete.
But yeah, Maye, this felt like a game where he knew that he could shred this defense, and he played like it.
Here we go. John Zannis, Greg Bedard. Thank you guys for waiting patiently as the Patriots' 10-game win streak is snapped. There's no hats. There's no T-shirts today. Patriots blow a 21-0 lead. They go on to lose 35-31 to the Buffalo Bills. And a lot to unpack and a lot for the Patriots have to kind of digest and move forward because Baltimore next week, and this thing is far from over in terms of wrapping up the division, home field, what have you. So everything came to a screeching halt today, Greg. I guess I'll kind of start with you. What happened? Difference between first half, second half? The Patriots looked so good, and then Buffalo completely flipped the script.
I wish I had a good answer for you, John. I don't really. I mean, it was sort of the kind of game where you're just like, what the hell just happened? Because, I mean, like you said, 21-0 lead, 24-7 at halftime, and the Patriots were completely dominating the game. I think it was 260 or 285 to 76 in terms of total yards at halftime. It was really that the Bills didn't do anything outside of the drive, sort of late in the second quarter. Unfortunately, that was a harbinger of things to come, especially for the defense. I mean, to allow another NFL team, and I understand Josh Allen's on the other side and he's great, but to allow another NFL team to score touchdowns on 5 straight drives, that's just ridiculous. It should not happen. It shouldn't have happened. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of complaining about the officiating, and some of the Patriots fans might have a point, but still, the bottom line was they grabbed the lead back on Henderson's second touchdown, sensational touchdown run. They gave it right back up to the Bills on a long drive, and then the Patriots had a chance to, sort of rescue the day. Drake Maye to deliver his MVP moment, and it was not good. Drake Maye was, I think, 1 of 4 for 5 yards in the fourth quarter. Just not good enough. So, I mean, it was just all the way around. I mean, you had special teams penalties. You had 3 long kickoff returns. It was just but the main thing I keep coming back to is the defense. I mean, they just got
to get off the field.
Yeah, Josh Allen is great. James Cook is, but to let Cook, Kincaid, Knox, the guys you knew Josh Allen had to rely on to beat you, to allow them to do that. I mean, it's just not acceptable.
That's what was frustrating, specifically because, the Patriots came out, they played a lot of, they had some base looks against the Bills trying to stop the run, and they still were getting just, the ball run down their throat there. I guess in terms of approach, Greg, did anything change, or did the Bills just flip a switch? In the first half, I saw, it looked like the Patriots went man on, a lot of, maybe I think it was 45% of snaps there, which again, you can do against the Bills and their receivers because they don't have a lot of man beaters out there. Make Josh Allen try to get the ball down the field. He didn't do that well against it. What adjustments did the Bills make, or what did the Patriots stop doing in the second half that kind of started this avalanche?
I'm not really sure, John. This is one of those games where it happens so quickly that this is one of the games where I'm going to have to watch the film to really figure out what happened and dial down. I mean, I do know that the Patriots didn't have much of a pass rush. The pass rush was successful against Josh Allen in the first half, got him with a couple blitzes, some really good sort of, concaving the pocket on him. But a lot of that stuff evaporated in the second half. I mean, I was looking at it before I came down. Landry and Callahan Chason combined for 2 pressures, and it might have happened on the 1 sack that they sort of combined on. That's all they had. Christian Barmore had 2 pressures. So, one of the things that we worried about with the Patriots, we thought maybe it might be a little bit better after the bye week with Chason and Landry getting a little bit of rest because they looked to be on fumes before the break. they just couldn't get enough pressure. They couldn't cover and get enough pressure on Josh Allen. And I think a big thing was, the Bills finally started running things through James Cook, both running the ball, and they threw it to him. They threw it to the other running back as well. That's something that Josh Allen didn't do. Excuse me. The first time around, there were a lot of times where he had the opportunity to check the ball down, and for whatever reason, he didn't do it. This game, he did it. It was sort of death by about 1,000 paper cuts.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, the things that are going to be the headlines off of this one, and again, a lot of it has to do with, when you go back in and look at it, exactly what happened and why. But defense, the 5 straight touchdowns, the red zone defense continuing to be atrocious, and something that could be a fatal flaw on this team. And again, you could probably point to fatal flaws on a few different teams, throughout the AFC. Nobody's perfect, but this is something that's been killing the Patriots all year. It is Josh Allen. You got Josh Allen. It happens. Get in line. It's happened to a lot of different people. So the defense is one, and we've talked about that here. The other one's officiating. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but there were some questionable calls where, let's just call it a favorable whistle. Twitter thinks that the refs, the game was fixed and the refs handed the game to Buffalo, which I disagree with. But the other is Drake Maye. For all the good things we've said about Drake Maye and how good he looked to start the game, and how I wonder, how much of the running was, hey, that's our wrinkle. We've been waiting to drop it on you guys here. Drake Maye runs the ball now. You saw him go on a designed RPO keeper for one of those touchdowns there. I actually think he could have done it a little bit more in the second half when he was struggling to find people open. But then he just kind of sucked, Greg. And I don't know how else to put it here. I don't know how much of it was receivers not being open. I think there's sometimes he was just hesitant. He didn't get rid of the ball fast enough, for sure. Allowed the pressure to get to him, after, just kind of looking around, waiting for something to unfold. He was inaccurate at times. He didn't need to be. People can talk about the Henry ball late. That was catchable. That's not the worst of them, but one that was down and away to Mac Hollins out in the flat for no reason whatsoever. It's just his ball placement wasn't great. Decision-making didn't seem to be great, and he was just hanging on to the ball. What happened here? And again, you got to look at the film to know whether the Bills did different things, gave different looks that kind of stymied him. I don't know how, open the receivers were, but you were waiting for Drake Maye to start doing Drake Maye things, and it never happened. Didn't even come close to happening in the second half.
Yeah, they obviously changed something up. I'll be interested to see what it was. My guess is that they played a lot more man coverage, and I'll be interested to see how I don't think that there were a ton of open guys for Drake Maye on some of the plays.
There were not.
He was having to wait for second windows, and by that time the pressure was getting to him. I thought on the final 4th down play, I thought that was a really smart smart move by Sean McDermott after he had a abysmal first half. Sort of like keeping Bosa sort of just waiting for Drake Maye, because eventually he's going to come out to his right, and they sort of almost forced him that way into Bosa, and he deflected it. But when Drake Maye looks like he did in the second half, the picture has changed for him. And so the Bills definitely changed the picture. I want to say they went to a lot more man. I think Maye normally carves up zone, and that's where he gets digs. And he got Henry once. But they had a tough time getting open from what it looked like. And that's a huge surprise to me, because I thought when I saw Christian Benford, the Bills by far their best cornerback, not be active for this game, I was like, well, Drake Maye's just going to light him up like a Christmas tree. But it didn't. It happened in the first half, did not happen in the second half. So something obviously changed.
Do you think the Patriots got conservative at all with some of their play calling with this one? This is kind of the damned if you do scenario. They ran the ball so effectively in the first half there. And it wasn't just the big chunk, touchdown, the 52-yarder from Henderson. They were really able to run it there. And then in the second half, you go up big, you run on first down, you don't get what you want there. You're putting yourself in second and long and third and long situations, which make things a little bit difficult. You think the Patriots do you think they eased off the gas at all?
I I'm not really sure, John. I don't have a good answer for that. I'm sure, you look at the results and you say yes, but is that the truth? I'm not really sure. I mean, it's still, it didn't seem like they ran it between the tackles very well. They still have a lot of runs go ahead.
A lot of the toss stuff. Yeah, I mean Henderson, they were eating that up in the first half.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people they love TreVeyon Henderson, and I understand that, and there's no question that he's a home run hitter, and the first touchdown was just he went untouched for 50 yards. That was outstanding blocking, and if it's blocked up, he's going to get it. Now, the second one was sensational. Like he was going to be taken down for like a 3-yard loss. All of a sudden, he busted outside and went into an after gear. But, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of second guesses about the offense. I mean, and I'm sure it's true to some extent. But I don't recall them being like overly conservative. I just think that to me, the bottom line is like you scored 31 points in an NFL game, especially when you're up 17 at halftime. You shouldn't lose too many of those games.
So again, hard to say why a lot of this stuff happened, but does this, again, 10 straight wins, a lot of talk. Hey, maybe they are the best team in the NFL. And they still might be. I don't know how much this changes. How much does what happened today change your thinking of anything regarding the Patriots and how far they can go?
Not a ton. I mean, we all know Josh Allen is Josh Allen, and I think this is now the fourth time this season that the other team has scored 30 or more points. He's 4-0 when the other team does that he comes back. So it might just be, Josh Allen, superhero is certainly part of it, but you do have to look at a couple of the fatal flaws that we thought the Patriots might have. Their ability to get pressure, was suspect in the second half. The red zone defense and just the defense in general. I mean, it's not like the Bills are out there like the greatest show on turf, and for them to rip through them for 5 consecutive touchdowns, you just wonder when you face a decent offense, will this defense be able to hold up in the end? And then the other thing is, I'm not going to have a good answer on this, but, it seemed like the weather deteriorated in the second half. Is that part of the reason why Drake Maye did not play well in the second half? As it got windier, as the snow sort of picked up a little bit, was that a factor? I'm not sure.
Yeah. And obviously that's not an issue for someone like Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. So that's not going to be a problem. We talked about the defense. Spillane dressed, but watched. And then Milton Williams is still out of this one. So you're missing 2 impact players here. How much does that change things in your mind? And again, 5 straight touchdown drives, there's a lot going wrong, but how much could those guys have tilted things in the Patriots' favor?
I mean, they would obviously help. I mean, they're probably arguably 2 of the Patriots' best defensive player, but everybody's dealing with injuries this year at this time of year. So it's no excuse. And the Patriots continue to be one of the healthiest teams in the league. I mean, even, Carlton Davis left for a portion of the game, but he came back into the game. I mean, it is interesting, the Spillane situation, nothing illegal about it, but certainly some gamesmanship there for the Patriots in that, he was listed as questionable for the game with a foot injury that came up during the week. Benford was sort of in the same situation for the Bills. He was questionable, but then inactive for the game. The Patriots had Spillane, and he was questionable for the game. All of a sudden, he's active in uniform, but doesn't play. You don't see that, very often. So obviously the Patriots were sort of trying to keep that a little bit hidden this week. And, it's hard for me to say, like, Spillane would have made a huge difference. He would have made a difference. I mean, he's a good player, but I thought Ellis and I thought Gibson played a pretty good game today from what I could see. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but for the most part, they did their jobs.
Yeah, they did. Going back to the Drake Maye stuff, national narratives are going to say, well, this shows he hasn't arrived yet. normally I think that stuff is garbage, but how much did the moment get to him? Do you think? Like, we haven't seen him falter quite like this in a big situation. You kept waiting for it to settle and him to kind of do things that we've seen him do, and it didn't happen at any point in time.
Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna need to see Drake Maye in more of these situations to really know. Hopefully we'll get an opportunity to do that in Baltimore, next week. But Drake Maye does not strike me as somebody like who gets caught up in the moment and the moment's too big for him. I think this is, sometimes when you're trying to protect the lead and maybe take care of the ball, you get a little bit more conservative. And, again, I mean, we'll have to see. I mean, we don't have many instances with Drake Maye in sort of weather like there was today. Like right now it's blowing pretty good. It's freaking cold out here. And so, and JJ Watt even said on the telecast about, or Washburn, the sideline reporter, talked about how, the wind had really kicked up in the second half. So, how much does that factor into things? Because it didn't look like Drake was overly accurate in the second half, and that was part of the story in this game.
Yeah, it's and again, you're gonna have to go back and look at the film, as you say. I'll ask this: what was the bigger fluke? Not fluke, but which is more indicative of who the Patriots are in your mind? The way they played early, going up 21-0, or the way that this game closed?
Like
so you didn't feel. I didn't feel 21-0 was safe. And I felt this was going to be you might need the ball and have to score. You might need the ball and have to score. I didn't think the Bills were dead, and I thought they put up points fast. The special teams, we didn't talk about it. We will didn't help either. But I didn't think it was necessarily safe. But which was more indicative of the team that you think they are?
Well, I'll say they look like world beaters and possible Super Bowl champs, up 24-7 in halftime. I did think that the game was over. I thought the Bills, maybe the Bengals game took a lot out of them. I just didn't think they had it, but they're a second half team. It depends on who they play. I mean, I think that, how many quarterbacks are they going to play like Josh Allen? I don't think Lamar Jackson's on that level, right now. Certainly down the stretch, some of the Jets and the Dolphins, but in the playoffs, like I'm not, Bo Nix or, the Texans quarterback, CJ Stroud, not really scared of them. So look, against, let's just say in a rematch against the Bills, I would say the Patriots, at least defensively, are more the second half team than they are the first half. I think the Patriots are a lot better. Drake Maye's a lot better than what they showed in the second half, and they're just going to have to figure out why it happened.
All right, let's hear quickly from Drake Maye on today's loss from the podium here.
Yeah, just don't let it beat you twice. Move on to the next week and learn from it, and take what we can, and know that we got some football ahead of us that is important, still very important, and don't just hang our hat and keep your head up and know that we had a chance and we're there. Just they made more plays and credit to them. It was a long stretch where we were feeling good about ourselves, and it was a chance for us to respond from being late in the season and playing meaningful football, and responding from losing to a good team. So we got to get back and start some practice, and looking forward to getting another chance next Sunday.
Drake, from a leadership standpoint, how much of a role are you going to play now in terms of helping the team move forward and get ready for Baltimore and put this one behind you?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge for me to get the guys going, back in practice. Let them know that this was what it's about. Bouncing back and responding, and it was to. We gotta appreciate that and don't take that for granted and learn from it. But like I say, got a big one next Sunday night, and we're on the road again, so it's going to be a tough one. I know they're a good football team.
I do want to ask quickly about Baltimore before I do. Greg, you mentioned quarterbacks that you're afraid of, that you're going to run into or not run into in the playoffs. One of them is not going to be Patrick Mahomes. Not only did the Chiefs lose, dropping to 6-8, he left with an apparent knee injury. The Twitter doctors are talking about ACL sort of situations. So you could have a situation in Kansas City right now that extends far beyond the debacle that took place this season involving Patrick Mahomes and his status and availability, not just for the rest of this year, but moving on. The Ravens, meanwhile, Lamar Jackson looked a little bit more like Lamar Jackson today, and they blanked the Bengals 24-0. And this is not a cupcake. This isn't the Ravens from 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. They're playing next week, and this is a team that can do the kind of things that can really mess with the Patriots. You've got obviously the mobile quarterback who can extend plays on his own, and you've got a tight end or two that Patriots don't do a great job covering, and you got big smash mouth running attack, which right now Patriots are not defending very, very well. So this one looks a little yucky now in Baltimore.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I saw the Mahomes thing before I left the press box. That's too bad. You never want to see the league lose their best players. And this Ravens game is going to be really interesting. To watch what they did to the Bengals. I mean, it's still Joe Burrow and Chase and those guys to throw up a goose egg is pretty impressive. And I did see a couple of the plays from that game. Lamar Jackson had a great touchdown to Zay Flowers in the corner of the end zone, type of play that we haven't seen him make in a while. So you just you're fearful that Lamar Jackson is starting to heat up and getting a little healthier, because that's going to be a huge game. Sunday Night Football, title bout, another one. But I think it's good overall that the Patriots are getting tested like this. And while it's you'd rather learn these lessons when you're winning games, the Patriots can take a lot out of this, and they can be a better team down the road in the postseason for it.
All right. Before we let Greg go and welcome in Taylor and Mike, I'll ask you, because I know this is the thing you like talking about the least, but any of the calls that people are freaking out about, certainly the Carlton Davis pass interference there on 3rd down would have forced the Bills into a 4th down situation, was a big one. Anything that you thought was egregiously bad, that was, bordering on robbery? And again, you do have to point out the Patriots got a big beneficial one in the first half too, when the refs got one wrong. Obviously, you kind of had McDermott challenge there on the booty catch down the sideline, which extended that drive and resulted in a touchdown. That was a missed call. But again, the Bills could have challenged. The onus is on them to do so. So that's their fail. But anything in this game that you're like, yeah, that one sucked?
Not really. You could see why they called him. I thought the Davis one was a little soft. You've seen that called either way. Either they call it or they don't throw the flag. You've certainly seen that. The Patriots, still, I mean, look, it wasn't like it was in the end zone. They still had a chance to get out of it or hold the Bills to the field goal, which they did not do. I would say I'm still confused by the Marcus Jones. Was that Khalil Shakur play? The whole thing was weird. I can see why they threw the flag, which I still don't know why it was a catch, because I never saw him with possession. That they didn't do like a quick review or anything like that. I mean, I guess Rabel could have thrown the flag, but I mean,
it's immaterial on the PI.
Yeah. I mean, so, but the Marte Mapu, that was a hold. A couple of the holds that we saw, I didn't really have a huge problem with it. And the bottom line is the Patriots had a chance to rally. We've seen them do it before, overcome a bad call and get out of it. That's their job, and they just couldn't do it on 5 consecutive touchdown drives.
Yeah, I don't disagree there. Patriots were chirping about it a little bit in the locker room. I know Taylor and Mike were in there. So for those of you guys that want to pin this one entirely on the refs, Taylor and Mike will give you a little bit of fodder for that coming out here, because the Patriots were not super happy about some of the stuff that went on the field there. But as Greg said, you blow a 21-0 lead, you give up 5 straight touchdown passes. The refs would have to do a lot of work to be the reason why you lost this game. That certainly wasn't the case. Greg Bedard, we thank you very much. We're going to say bye to you, and we are going to welcome in Mike and Taylor in just a little bit. Thanks a lot, Greg. Oh, wait.
Right. See ya.
Don't go. Tell people. I got to tell people. we got to subscribe to BSJ first. I apologize. Before we go, we can't not tell you about Boston Sports Journal. I'm sure you all subscribe. If you aren't, you're making a mistake. $7 a month or $50 a year. Best local sports coverage in town. Make sure that you check that out. Subscribe to Boston Sports Journal. Greg Giardi have the Pats covered from now all the way to, who knows, possibly a Super Bowl. But make sure you check it out. Greg will have the goods later on today, writing about what happened in this Patriots 35-31 loss to the Bills. Greg, thanks a lot.
All right. See you, John.
All right. Yep. All right. We do want to tell you guys, of course, about Prize Picks, our sponsor here on Patriots Postgame. And it's pretty easy. You download that Prize Picks app. You use code CLNS. You get 50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And again, guys, by now you know the deal. Number one daily fantasy sports app in all of North America. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy. You see it on the screen here. Easy to play, whatever you want to do. 2 to 6 player stat projections, what have you. Doesn't matter which sport. You can cross sports. You can stay in the same. I don't like to cross sports, but you can. Basketball, football, baseball, whatever. I like to kind of focus in on one game or a time block as, easiest way to kind of manage things for this. 1 o'clock games, 4 o'clock games, what have you. And again, you see it on the screen. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. You got a lot of cool stuff like injury reboots. If player gets hurt in the first half, they're going to take that off the board. There's free squares. There's cool promotions going on throughout the week. And again, the easiest thing is, as you see right there, you download this app, play $5, get 50 instantly. Once again, 50 instantly in your account after you download the Prize Picks app and use code CLNS. Prize Picks. It is good to be right. We're going to flip it and bring in our guys over here, Taylor and Mike. My favorite time of year with these guys, who I just looking at Taylor right now just brings a smile to my face. I just love it.
You just like when my nose is all red and rosy.
You know what the giveaway is? You know what I love? Your shoulders. Trying to keep your neck where it's like this.
How cold would you be if they won that one, Taylor?
I'm like this in the 90-degree heat. I don't know what you're talking about.
Your shoulders come up and you're just trying to get the warmth in there, and I can see it right away. It's seconds in. You go necklace here in the cold, and it's our first bad one, I guess, here, and we're good. We're good with that.
John.
It's easier. So I guess we could go everywhere with this, but I guess I'll just kind of put it out to you guys and just say, what the F happened?
The red zone defense was about as bad as it's been all season. The run defense was something that we were really hoping was going to improve, where it's James Cook. No scary receivers for the Bills. All the reasons to stack the box. They did that, and it still didn't work. Short yardage defense has been very bad in recent weeks. It continued to be very bad. Drake Maye never found a rhythm. Like, that's really the kind of 10,000-foot view that I have of it, is your quarterback didn't play the game that you needed him to play in this situation, especially in the second half. And pretty much everything about the defense you're worried about coming into this bit you in the butt, on top of just terrible kick return coverage, as well as blocking on kickoff. Not a lot of room for Kyle Williams. And the one time he does spring one, you get penalized. So it was all 3 phases of the game that contributed to this loss, and all 3 fell short in ways that you were really hoping they'd be able to step up.
Yeah, and they've done this a couple times here now, where they get out to a big lead. It feels like, oh my God, this is the best football team we've ever seen. They're going to go, Ahmed had me refreshing the odds to see if they were Super Bowl favorites throughout the first quarter of the game.
I'm going around all bragging like, oh my God, my 2-score prediction was right.
Like, I had him to win by 2 scores. Everyone doubted me, talking about he's trying to get his 13 wins thing getting ready to go. I know we still need a couple more there, but no, it's all of a sudden they kind of fell apart. And I can't remember exactly what game had happened before. I think it was the Giants game where they came out hot. They let them in a little bit at the end, and obviously they came out victorious in that one, but they need to be able to step on these teams' throats, and they just haven't been able to do that yet. And I think you mentioned a little bit there, Drake didn't play his best game at all. And I think those 2 rushing touchdowns in the first quarter kind of made it feel like a much better game from him. But this is the first game where he didn't throw for 200 yards in a game. That Mr. Consistent thing we've talked about, it was anything but that today. It was basically a roller coaster from him. He had the worst passer rating of the season today, and it was only the second time that he completed less than 62% of his throws. So he had a couple misses. That Hunter Henry one was more of a drop on Hunter Henry, but overall, they needed more from Drake Maye, even though they did end up scoring 31 points in this game. They needed more from the quarterback. They needed more from the defense against Josh Allen. And then you mentioned it, Taylor, too. The special teams wasn't great in this one either. So they got to get back to the drawing board. We just came out of the locker room. That feels like the overarching memo is we're gonna look at this, we're gonna look at the film, and then we're gonna put it away. We're gonna move on to Baltimore. That's what any football team should do. Now we just got to wait and see if the Patriots can actually execute on that plan.
So again, we like to do this on the Garden Report, slicing up blame pie here, but I mean, you've got a lot of problems here. I think the most obvious one is going to be the defense. It's going to get the biggest heaping helping here. You give up 5 straight touchdowns. You're not going to win many games, if any games. I'd like to see the numbers on that. Teams giving up 5 straight touchdowns, what their record is. It's got to be bad.
Not great.
But not great. I think obviously you don't help yourself out with the special teams being atrocious and gifting the Bills consistently good field position when you were ahead in the game because you made it easier for them to come back. That's going to get a small slice of it as well. And then you're going to look at Drake Maye and his first half, second half, Jekyll and Hyde sort of situation and how things went here. And again, I don't know how much you guys are willing to say now as we pivot to Drake Maye, portion of the conversation. How much of it was on him just not playing great? Again, you see some misses. The one to Mac Hollins low and outside for no reason at all. That's an easy pitch and catch. There's another one there where I think he missed a receiver.
Almost every Mac Hollins throw was off, honestly, today. It felt like.
The one he high pointed was unnecessarily challenging as well. I mean, it was a great catch by Mac, but that thing didn't have to be up there. Could have hit him right. Dead center mass, and it didn't. Henry, I didn't think that was nearly as egregious as people put it out to be. That if that was behind him, it was behind him by a hair. That basically went right through his hands. So I mean, I'll put that one more on Henry, but it's not a perfect throw from a guy who we're used to seeing perfect throws from. So he was bad. Somebody put it to me in my comments. After he took that shot, might have been on the long ball. Where the blitz, and he got up slow. That he wasn't as good after that. Who knows if he got his bell rung or there was anything to go there, or just simply, I hate saying stupid, ESPN narrative shit like the moment was too big for him, but like, stuff didn't go great. From my perspective, you don't get to see what's going on down the field, but it did look a couple of times where he might have been able to get rid of the ball a little earlier, but he held it too long. And there are other times it looked like there was nobody covered for 5 seconds. I mean, there's nobody open for 5 seconds. So how are you guys kind of slicing things up today just on Drake Maye's side? Like, why was he so un-Drake Maye-like and ineffective in the second half?
Well, I'm going to put a lot of this on Drake Maye as like this was the live viewing that we saw because he did miss a ton of opportunities. You could talk about the hit. He wasn't throwing very accurately before the hit either. Like you said, you had the play where Mac Hollins has to go up and grab it. Had another miss that should have been an interception where you hit a Bills defender right in the hands. You talk about how bad his passer rating was. It would have been a whole lot worse if they had an interception, and it could have been even faster that this game really got out of hand. So I put a lot of this on Drake Maye's shoulders, and a lot of the struggles were actually against split field zones. I know they did play man. I think on the last snap that was man coverage where just nobody got open. So I'm not saying that man coverage didn't play a factor. But it was the split field zones, which I talked about this morning as being something that Drake has been really good against statistically. He's been tearing those apart. So I don't know what exactly it was, but it felt like he never really found a groove in this game. And we've seen there have been other games where he struggles out of the gate, maybe for a quarter or two, and then kind of finds that rhythm and then just doesn't make a mistake for a huge stretch. You never really saw that, and I wonder if part of it was the ground game having so much success. You didn't really need to pass the ball very much. They didn't use play action very often, so it seemed like a game where they really wanted to rely on their ground game, which I think was smart. You run for 200 yards, and a lot of that is obviously the TreVeyon Henderson run, but I feel like people are going to want to say, oh, but if you take that out, like, no, absolutely not, because he reverse field and made a crazy play that we've seen he is special in that area. So I really think like the pass protection didn't look egregiously bad. There were definitely some lapses. Looked like Jared Wilson missed a twist to his side. There was also a rep where he and TreVeyon Henderson were both blocking Matt Milano. And for some reason, Jared Wilson came off the block, and that kind of created the opening for Drake Maye to get sacked. So I don't think the line was perfect. We'll see if receivers were getting more separation than we realized. But the number of times I saw Drake not really throwing to the area code of his receiver was pretty disappointing, I'll say.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on the fact that there was a lot of times where he was just missing guys in this game. But on that last drive where they had an opportunity, 3rd and 4th down, there was nobody open, and he was trying to make things happen, and the receivers weren't getting there. So putting it on Drake Maye, I can understand. And I think, again, we mentioned it was not his best showing, but I don't think it's reasonable to expect him to play the football he played this season every game long for the rest of his career, right? He's going to have a couple hiccups. Now, my thing is, how does he respond to it? Because today he had a couple of those mistakes and he didn't respond very well. We've seen other times this season, however, he comes back right away and, we'll rip a touchdown score or something like that. And, you mentioned, John, how is the moment too big for him? Like today, it almost felt like it was too big for him. Last season, there were a lot of times where the moment he would make something crazy happen and then throw an interception to kind of seal it the other way. But we've seen this season other times where, it's third down, fourth down. He goes and makes a play to one of his better guys, a Stephon Diggs, a Kayshon Boutte, what have you. That didn't happen today. So, again, we'll look back on it. We'll see, what it actually looks like from a different angle and a different perspective. But from right now, he wasn't great. And it's definitely a cause for concern given the fact that, we went into this the first half talking about MVP. He runs for the 2 scores, and it just completely flipped on their head. So with the way he's been playing this season, you would expect him to return to form. But another big test next week against Baltimore is something that, you kind of look forward to here.
Yeah, and that game's looking a lot harder than it did a couple of weeks ago. The Ravens, blanking Cincinnati today 24-0. And
that was in Cincinnati too, wasn't it?
Jackson looking a little bit healthier. Yeah, Cincinnati just looked dead ass.
What a tough road environment.
Yeah.
Literally.
It was a Pat's home game last year.
I know. So I'll ask you guys again. I asked this to Greg. What was flukier in your mind? I don't know if fluky is the right word, but the first half or the second half, like which is more indicative of who the Patriots are? Did they go into were they fortunate to be up early? Or did they tighten up late? Did the Bills, and again, Greg, in fairness said, there's a lot of questions that you're going to have to dig into the tape. And I'm sure, Taylor, you're going to do that to get a real sense of, but did something change with how the Bills, played their approach, perhaps more man in that second half there? And again, I think that this is a tactic that has worked against the Patriots, and the teams are going to try to employ more and more because, you just don't have the horses to consistently beat man coverage. If you can play it that way, but I'm not sure what happened here, at least offensively. Defensively, total collapse, all systems failure. We can talk about it, but I don't know what we can say other than they sucked. They got gashed left and right. They were leaving guys open in the middle of the field, playing soft zones. It was a mess, but offensively, it felt like, hey, okay, our defense isn't going to do it this game. You could feel the train coming, right? You saw the momentum and you're like, all right, you're going to have to score a couple times to win this game. And they didn't, and they couldn't. And I still can't quite figure out why.
The wind is destroying the set. Oh my God.
I'm
just holding everything together by himself. All right. So let me go before disaster.
Pay for the heavy shit on it. Okay. Expense it. Expense the heavy shit that doesn't blow over.
I have sandbags.
But anyway, fluke or not, I honestly think even in the first half, I don't know about the entire half, but the defense, that first drive, you should have given up 2 explosive plays, and you got completely lucky. One, that Brandon Cooks bobbled one, and then that Josh Allen completely overthrew a wide open guy. Christian Gonzalez was trailing on both those plays. And not to mention, Josh Palmer on that first third down that they missed out on was wide open because it was a gimmicky play that the Bills had where Khalil Shakir was in the backfield. They had a bunch with the running back. And I think it just confused the assignment between Marcus Jones and Craig Woodson. And Josh Palmer probably could have caught that running for a touchdown if Josh Allen had seen him. So I even think the first half of the defense, they got away with some things they probably
I think so too. Yeah.
And I think the offense, I don't even know if it's fluky because the run game was pretty consistently good. Mm-hmm. The plays that got blown up were plays that I'm sitting in the press box saying they're going to toss it this way because it was the same grouping they used last time against the Bills where it's Jack Westover in the backfield, Austin Hooper at inline tight end, and Hunter Henry as the Z receiver so we can kind of move around, and then they crack and run the toss that way. There were a couple of times where they flipped the direction. That was TreVeyon Henderson's touchdown where they still almost got it blown up. And then there was another play where I saw they checked and ran up the middle instead of outside. But other than those, I thought the ground game did a really good job, and a lot of Drake Maye's positive plays in the first half were with his legs. It wasn't really with him throwing the ball, and I think throwing the ball consistently felt like, a little shoddy. The ball placement definitely isn't there. We saw that in the beginning. It never really fixed itself. So I don't even know if it's really necessarily fluky. I just think you got to a point where the offense kept taking negative plays. You had the sacks. You had the penalties in the red zone that kept knocking you back. And I think that's really more what it was, that the offense started shooting itself in the foot more in the second half. And the defense, I think, the Bills offense just woke up in the second half. The dam broke, and they were like, these guys really can't stop the run. You lean on that. You lean on Josh Allen's legs. A couple of other times where the defense hurts itself with bad penalties here and there. That leads to a recipe of a disaster where you do give up a lot of these plays. So I don't even know if it was so much that, it wasn't legitimate. I just think that over the course of the game, there were certain things that got exposed, and the Patriots also hurting themselves just completely buried their chances of bringing this one back.
Yeah, the first half, the Patriots offense is closer to the offense they played in that first half, where, Maye did make a couple plays. Obviously, that throw to Keyshawn Boutte was ridiculous. That was a ridiculous throw.
Adjustment by Boutte.
Yeah, right.
Because it looked like he was waiting for a back shoulder ball. I don't know if Drake should have thrown the pass he did, but when the defender looked back to make a play on it, that gave Keyshawn kind of a little more room to get in front of him and dive to make that catch. All I had to say, because I looked back, that was an incredible play from Keyshawn.
No, the plays that they've made on offense all season long, those are the ones they make, where the quarterback, wide receiver on the same page making something happen. Drake Maye running with using his legs in the red zone, that was great. That was a good adjustment they had, and I think that's what they're going to probably have to do more to fix these red zone offensive issues. So, looking at the offense, I think they faltered down the stretch, and, it was mistakes. It was bad play. It's stuff that they can improve on. Defensively, I think that the first half was a fluke. I mean, like you said, they got lucky a couple times. The first two, forcing Josh Allen into 2 3-and-outs right off the bat is near impossible to do. And we've seen this Buffalo team come back in the second half time and time again. They did it last week against Cincy. They do it again here. And I think they do have something to worry about defensively. That was not a good showing. These are the teams, the caliber of offense Buffalo is, even without some of the better receivers in the NFL, is one that you're going to have to play, in next week, obviously in Baltimore, and then when you end up playing a team like Denver, or I almost said Kansas City. Kansas City's not in it anymore, but your Houstons and what have you, like they're going to be able to get you, and you need to be able to close up on defense. So I think that they have a lot of work to do. I think the first half was definitely a fluke from them.
And I also want to harp on the red zone defense specifically, because it's not one thing. Right. They're not good. It's a bunch of different circumstances where the first touchdown, Christian Ellis, it was just like the Jalen Hawkins touchdown the last time they played Buffalo, where they send somebody kind of on a rail into the flat, and the defender hesitates for a split second. And because you're throwing to somebody with speed, that's all they need to get into the end zone. Then you have James Cook running in for a touchdown, where the red zone or the run defense hasn't been great, but they don't usually bend that much in the low red zone. So you saw that happen. Marcus Jones gets caught with his eyes in the backfield. He's late to cover Dawson Knox. And then the last touchdown, where I asked Harold Landry specifically, because I'm looking at the play, he goes inside in a move that you don't expect from a veteran who's been in the league as long as he has and is one of the leaders on this defense. And he acknowledged that there was a miscommunication, which, I think the miscommunication, by the way, when Landry went inside, you had Ponder 2 gaps over opposite Barmore and Harold. I think that Ponder was supposed to loop around to kind of lull Josh Allen to go to his right and then run into a sack. We've seen the Bills do that, but it looked like Ponder didn't get the message, allows Josh Allen to go out right. And then, I don't know what else you can ask Jack Gibbons to do. He was in tight coverage. So, and Jalen Hawkins also mentioned, we have to see the film, but we have to all be on the same page. Because if one guy's off, it leads to these kinds of plays, especially against an offense like the Bills. And that's what happened. So is part of it you're playing a great offense that has a really good scheme and a quarterback who's going to dice you when you make those mistakes? Yes. But I'm also tired of making any excuses for this red zone 100%. Defense, because you're not really showing much solidarity. You're getting them in some of these late down situations, and then you're coughing it up. So I don't know what they've got to do to fix it, because I think it's communication. I think it's execution. I don't even think it's that they're ill prepared. It's just what they do when it comes down to actually making those kind of plays. So it's been very disappointing, and people keep talking about the run defense being the reason this team's going to lose in the playoffs or whatever, or their biggest weakness. While I do acknowledge it is, especially now, a significant issue that you need to worry about, it's the red zone defense, and it has been for a long time. And watching this game, I felt helpless anytime they were in 3rd and short, anytime they're in the red zone. That's not how you want to feel when you're talking about a team that we're saying has a chance to make it all the way to the Super Bowl. If they do manage to go 2 straight and potentially 3 straight weeks in the playoffs by maybe skirting past and not getting punished for their bad red zone defense, I can promise you, if they end up facing someone like the Seahawks or the Rams specifically in the Super Bowl, that's going to be a weakness that they are going to spam anytime they can. So that's the part of this that really scares me.
And I think, too, there were times where they could have had answers to the test, Josh Allen. And talking about that play with Landry, I was listening to a clip came up on my socials earlier this morning of Will Compton, Taylor Wan, Busting with the Boys guys talking about Mike Vrabel and how he's able to, kind of like how Belichick was able to outline exactly what's going to happen in a game and exactly what you have to do. Compton mentioned that There was a game in the 2020 season. They were playing Buffalo. Tennessee got ripped with COVID, so they had Zoom meetings all week long. And Vrabel came in on a Saturday, one day, and was like, this is what's going to happen. This is what we have to do. This is how we have to stop him. What it was is forcing Allen to his left, not his right, because when he goes to his right, he's able to run. He's able to keep the downfield options open. And that Landry play was exactly what happened. So that's an execution issue. And you talk about Elijah Ponder potentially being the one who was supposed to loop around and have to make a play there. Understand that, yes, he's an undrafted rookie and you're going to make mistakes, but that's not an excuse for a team that's 11-3 now. This is a playoff team. This is a team that's going to want to do more than just win the division. They let that slip through today. You need to play better. You need to have guys in better positions, to make those plays when you have them.
And Mike Vrabel literally said at the end or during his press conference that we weren't really surprised by anything that happened.
Right.
And it felt he didn't seem terribly alarmed, which I understand. One, because I think they did have the answers. It's not like you just got completely surprised by what Buffalo did, because they are the pretty predictable offense. But I also think he knows. And when I spoke to Morgan Moses after the game, he acknowledged it. There's been other games that we won where we got away with things and we need to be better, but we wound up being able to learn from a win. And this is one where it kind of felt like that caught up to you finally. And the mistakes that you were making just kind of avalanched in the second half specifically, and you really paid. So I even talked about this. I don't think this loss is going to be the kind of thing where they skid. And now it's, oh no, what's going to happen to the Patriots? Can they bounce back? There's a lot of veterans. They have Mike Vrabel. The fact that he didn't seem terribly alarmed by this loss tells me that he knows He knows that they know that they can play better and are going to do what they need to do to improve. Obviously, we're going to have to see what that looks like next Sunday, but I do at least think that in a loss, considering how well they were doing, maybe this is the fire under their butt that they, I don't want to say necessarily needed, but that is a good reminder late in the season that, hey, if you're going to bullshit and you're not going to be on your P's and Q's, good teams, as shorthanded as they are, without their top cornerback, without a true number one receiver, are still going to put you in bad spots no matter how well you've been doing up to that point.
And again, there are some people who have said exactly that, which is, do they need to face a little adversity? Do they need to lose? Have things been coming too easy for them? And Stephon Diggs, for one, in the locker room, seems to think, yeah, maybe they can benefit from today's loss. Any second now, Stephon. You get in there, buddy. No,
you're
I've pressed play. It is not playing.
It's definitely something you never know. We probably needed it. Going a little streak, I'm not gonna say it's a lot of pressure, but you expect to win it as you should each and every week. But you play good teams every week, and it's a new week every week. You're trying to go 1-0. You just can't ever draw it or kind of say how it's going to be. So it's good for us. It's kind of said in the beginning of the year. Lessons. If you don't learn nothing from it, then obviously you're lost. But it's a lesson for sure that you're gonna have to keep that foot on the gas.
Well, what I've learned is Stephon Diggs may not be the guy who lit up the Buffalo Bills the first time they played them. We have not. Diggs himself has been a little bit quiet. This last, again, I don't know.
People were adamant that they had to put Christian Benford on him, and I was saying leading up, that doesn't make any sense. You have not been watching the Patriots very recently. Yeah. You are stuck on one very good game that he hasn't come close to matching. I'm not saying anything against Stephon Diggs, but I remember that story. That whole storyline was really irritating me because it felt very short-sighted.
Shut Diggs down with the best guy and they'll be all set. No.
On an offense that has 4 guys with 400 yards. I never understood that.
Yeah, so I don't know about that, and I don't know about good loss versus bad loss. I think there's arguments to be made both ways. Certainly, learning from mistakes or getting away with stuff that hasn't been great is not great. So I understand that, okay, you recognize now, you can feel it. You play like assholes, you could get beat. You let a kick return across the 50-yard line 3 times. That's bad. You don't button up your red zone stuff, or you miscommunicate there and you're giving up touchdowns and blowing leads. That's bad. You got to button things up. You got to be on point. So I don't.
They also real quick on the kick returns. I'm sorry, really quick. It was actually kind of cool. They had a wrinkle where they had an offensive lineman in the middle to kind of as the lead blocker on the kick returns. And when I noticed it, I was like, oh, I feel like that's going to be a problem because he'd already had a couple of big returns. I think that was the second one that was even the biggest one that he had of the night, where it was literally right behind that offensive lineman. So I'm going to be interested to ask Jeremy Springer about that this week, because I'm sure they'd already seen it on tape, but it clearly directly led to some of their success on the kickoff team. So for as bad as they were, that was one interesting wrinkle. I'm curious if they defended poorly when I go back and watch.
Yeah. Again, there's a lot there with that. There's a lot, but how much does Diggs have how much can you fix here is kind of where I'm getting at, is like, certainly having Spillane playing, Milton Williams back helps, getting healthy along the offensive line. It will help. But like, I just ask, like, you could go both ways. You can learn from it, or also you could be like, oh shit, like we're vulnerable. I don't know what's going to happen. Look at Taylor's face. Freeze that and put it on a poster. Whatever just happened there. Yeah.
The wind is picking up here, John.
Because I'll tell you this: like you had no care in the world, and you were rolling, and it was hat and t-shirt day. And if you win this game, that's great.
Totally.
Anything that happens after, you could view it as a blip. But this is more about like your actual playoff mortality here. If you lose next week to Baltimore as well, it's not like you're not going to go into the playoffs. It's not like you're not going to have a puncher's chance against everybody you play, but you've now kind of opened up the possibility that like, we're not really better than anyone. Like we can beat anybody, but we might not be that good. We might be good, just good. And I don't know how that affects your thinking. And again, this isn't an overreaction to a loss. This is my general feel. The Patriots to me are a why not us team. There's no reason why it couldn't be them. Absolutely none. And if you look at every other team, they have a bunch of flaws too. And many of them could be potentially fatal. And I think a lot of the playoffs are going to come down to matchups and who you play, as opposed to, when you play them. So how far you get might be when you run into your kryptonite along the way. But what happens?
Sorry. That was very
so no, but that's kind of my thinking here is, they're an imperfect team. This is who they are. I think it's a bit of reality check. It's not an overreaction just to one game.
I think quickly, there's also a weight to it where, like, on one hand, yes, it's not a good loss, but a way that they can actually fix the things without thinking their shit doesn't stink for another week where, we can still make mistakes and beat anybody. It's like, no, our backs were against the wall and we couldn't do it today. On the other hand, John, you mentioned, the playoff picture, and clearly they're playing for more than just a week 15 game against Buffalo to try and win a hat and t-shirt. They ultimately want to win a Super Bowl. So if you lose again next week, for example, your path to winning the AFC East gets that much harder. Your path to a home playoff game gets that much harder. Your path to a potential 1 seed and a bye week gets that much harder, where your left tackle and Will Campbell could potentially have some more rest, where a bunch of these guys who are clearly ailing with stuff, Robert Spillane being one of them, have another week to potentially get healthy. So on one hand, I understand that, it's good to be able to actually get punched in the mouth every once in a while and figure it out and really get back to the drawing board on some things. But on the other hand, if you have to end up, as a wild card team here, you don't win the East, you got to get on the road. You don't have a bye week into the divisional round. That could potentially really kick you in the butt and make this season, I don't want to say all for nothing. Obviously, it's not all for nothing. We were talking 3 hours ago about them winning the Super Bowl. But there's a chance that it can kind of spiral up from you quickly if you don't buck it right now. So it's a good thing, but you got to use what you learn in the right way and not let it go the opposite direction.
And I don't want to make excuses because the defense. Oh, I'm sorry.
Breaking news. Phillip Rivers has thrown a touchdown pass.
Yes. To who? What happened?
Josh Downs, touchdown pass. They are beating the Seahawks 13-3. Phillip Rivers. I was just going to say breaking news. Phillip Rivers is still alive, because I thought there was like I
bet him to win. He hasn't been sawed in half yet.
I thought there was a 2 to 3% chance of death in this game. So the fact that he's alive
is it over?
Yeah, right.
No,
it ain't over.
Is legit, but he just threw a touchdown pass. They're up 13-3. He started the game 3 of 9. He's now 10 of 16 with a tutty, under his belt. So
good for him.
Grandpa's getting into it right now.
Everyone on social and all the national people being like, "Oh, this is so bad for the game and really sad." I think it's awesome. I think it's a great story. Like,
it's only bad if he died.
Waiting to see how it plays. I was going to say I'm fully waiting to see how it plays out, because if he looked like he did on that first throw, where it's just like, like if that's the whole game, that's a bad look.
He completed one to Pittman, and it was like late stages. It was late stages Chad Pennington. It was like. It was just popcorn. That's like, oh my God, there's nothing on that. So but yes, that is good. Anyway, I don't know what you guys were talking about, but
the defense. I want to say I don't want to give them any excuses because they played poorly. There was that one blown coverage that was really, really bad, where you had the guy wide open over the middle of the field on a third down where you could have gotten a crucial stop. is also important to acknowledge. They were missing some key pieces. You don't have Milton Williams, obviously. Also didn't have Robert Spillane, which I think Jack Gibbons is a very good run defender, so I don't want to give them a full excuse. I don't think Christian Ellis is a very good run defender, and I don't know for a fact, but I feel like that had something to do with the struggles that they did have. And also, Carlton Davis was out for a lot of this game, and on one of those plays, they threw right at Charles Woods. Literally, as soon as we noticed, I was like, is that Charles Woods on the field? And immediately they threw at him on the curl where he slipped at the top of the route, which is another crucial play. So I'm not making excuses. It is important to acknowledge that they are missing guys. They can get better. But at the same time, everybody's hurt at this point in the year. That's not really an excuse. I've been sick and tired of having Milton Williams be an excuse for why the run defense is bad.
It's not
significant. I don't think it's the reason, but I do want to acknowledge that not having Robert Spillane, who has been one of your most productive run defenders, probably had something to do with that as well. So we were even talking about like what happens if the Bills and the Patriots made up for a third time.
Yeah.
If the Patriots had blown them out today, I would have kind of been dreading that because it's just another opportunity for them to beat you.
Right.
Now you're 1-1, and I'm sure the Patriots have a bad taste in their mouth if they ever end up seeing the Bills again this season. So now I'm kind of rooting for that third matchup because I don't think the Patriots are as bad as they showed today, but I also think they have some things they definitely need to improve on. So if we do potentially get this matchup again, see where both these teams are at, and hopefully we get a better game than whatever the hell this was in the second half.
Two more things I'll ask you guys. I'll let you go because it's cold. First off, does the loss affect your thinking about the team at all? In terms of you thought they were one thing, and do you think there's something else after this? Is there any reaction here, or it's just they did some things wrong, but they can learn from it and move on?
I've been giving them a lot of credit for standing up when their backs are against the wall and finishing and being resilient. I'm not saying that this is, necessarily a big strike against that, but it is an example of, okay, this was one time your back was against the wall and you had a huge advantage and you completely let it slip through your hands. So that was something I was disappointed by. That feels much more like the September Patriots than the November and October Patriots. But other than that, I think a lot of the things that you lost on today were things, Drake Maye playing one of his worst games of the season. That's not something you expect, but also not something I think is going to be a pattern. But you knew your red zone defense wasn't good, and you knew your run defense wasn't good. I gave you the excuse of, hey, you've been trying to defend the past few weeks, so all right, now you have no reason, no excuses, and you couldn't do it. Okay, again, no Milton Williams and no Robert Spillane. That's not easy, but I think the ways that they got exposed today were, outside of the pass game struggling as much, were things that you already knew about going into this, and they were just absolutely magnified in the worst possible way. And I really hope they do have that fire lit under them and can nip it in the bud, because otherwise, I think the reality is it's not like the run game where I was even saying you saw the incremental growth week in and week out, where I was saying I think the run game could surprise this week. The red zone defense, if you're bad again next week, I'm just saying you suck at it. That's what it is. Like, I think that's just what it's going to be the rest of the season, because it's too late for you to make any sweeping adjustments.
Yeah, this is going to be a bad week for Patriots fans. I want you guys to buckle up, because the entire world,
it's ruined.
The entire world thinks you're frauds. Thinks they're frauds. The entire world thinks that the Drake Maye hype has been overblown, and this is going to be a bad week. So prepare yourselves for this.
I saw a meme earlier when I was scrolling. It was a picture of like Jalen Hurts like upset on the sideline. It was like Drake Maye when he doesn't have to play 2 and 11 teams.
Did he get the JJ McCarthy treatment yet?
Somebody's got to make
Drake Maye has done things that Jalen Hurts and JJ McCarthy could never even think to do. So
we know this, Taylor, but I'm just saying, everyone buckle up. What I will say is, for Patriots fans trying to defend the honor of their team, what you shouldn't do is complain about the referees, because that doesn't help your cause either. However, look, let's call some of these 50-50s. And I think that's what they were. Look, missed holds, I think there were some. I've had people screen grab me on one of Maye's incompletions. It looks like receivers are being held going off in the middle of the field. I think that you're getting that. You get that at the line sometimes. And those get missed all the time. But like the big game-changing ones, the Carlton Davis being among the bigger ones that could have, gotten Bills off the field, facing fourth down there, forced a field goal, whatever it is. That one was tough. Here's Davis after the game himself talking about that particular play.
See how late the flag came out. Like, if it's a flag, it's like definitive. Like, throw the flag. If it's not a flag in a close game like this, you gotta let us play. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So just by seeing how late the flag came in, I think we all thinking the same thing.
As a competitor, how frustrating is it?
It's frustrating. You know what's on the line.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Like, this game so close, and it comes down to a game of inches. And at that moment, you're either going to throw the flag or you're not. You don't take 10 seconds to throw a flag. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if it's a definitive flag, throw it. If it's not, let us play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's got a good point.
100%. Like, there were some times where I could tell that fans were more upset by things that I wasn't, like the Matt Collins throw where Trey White gets the interception. I didn't think that was DPI. I thought they were both jostling for it. I thought they were both looking for the ball. I was okay that it wasn't thrown. Clearly, my comments were not. I got lit up. But, like, I didn't mind that when Marcus Jones, I knew it was coming because he wasn't looking back and he ran into
receiver
the guy.
had to the receiver had to play through him. That's a class. That's
Right.
an automatic one.
All the time.
Debating the catch doesn't matter. It's an automatic DPI on Jones. The receiver's got to come back and play through Jones, who's in his face. You can't do that. That's textbook. And the
But
Davis
that's also
one
being at a home stadium when something happens, right? The whole place is going to boo if anything's ticky tacky. But even
And the Hollins one,
like it's a penalty.
The Hollins one, he grabbed and got grabbed. There's a little bit of both on that side.
right.
That one wasn't egregious either. So again, I do think that at best they were coin tosses, but those coin tosses could go in your favor. So if you're frustrated, if you feel you lost 8 straight coin flips, then that's wrong, right? If it's a 50-50 where you could have let it go or could have called it, mixed with some missed, calls that could have been critical or crucial, defensive holding. Missing a defensive holding when your team has the ball on third down is a critical thing. And if some of that stuff went down too, it's not great. You guys mentioned Christian Barmore felt he got held on one play, and that might have disrupted the drive. The Bills, you didn't benefit from any of that. You did feel like you needed a little bit of penalty luck or something to happen to stop the Bills' momentum. And they never got into 3rd and 14 or blah, 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 because they weren't getting that holding call. It just never happened. It felt like every time there was a flag, it was against the Patriots. So I get people being frustrated, but a lot of them did feel like they were jump balls there. How much do you think it factored in? Was there any specifically that you thought that you can't toss that one?
I agreed with all the penalties. The only one I thought was bad was Carlton's right. You can't throw that flag that late. In that moment,
somebody said on the field,
I'm cool with that.
Somebody said on the field,
he had trouble getting the flag.
That he had trouble getting the flag. One of your brethren in the press box.
On the refs, but
we didn't see it. It was a media member. Someone said that they noticed him reaching and he couldn't get it out early enough, and it wasn't late as much as it was just a mishandled flag.
My colleagues are smarter than I am, so they might be right there. But it was a very bad look. Although I will say it was a penalty. Like he falls, gets up, and grabs him. Like, I'm sorry, Buffoli did something wrong. But the one I probably disliked the most was the Craig Woodson hold, because that was a pretty crucial play where they're in the red zone. I don't know. It might have been necessary. He might have gotten beaten and kind of had to just to catch up. But it did definitely feel like there were 2 or 3. I have to go back, but it felt like there were 2 or 3 penalties that really put you in some much worse spots. And obviously the ones on offense, those are crucial. Like, you get back-to-back penalties, and the Patriots are willing to take those shots. If you have just the one penalty, then you have another one that puts you in an even worse situation. So that was another area where they've been pretty good this season. Like, the penalties were a problem in September. Felt like they really nipped it in the bud the past couple months, but that came back with a vengeance today and definitely put you in some rough spots.
And I also just, to answer kind of what you started with there, John, I don't think it made or break the game. Like, I don't think some of these, like, if none of them were called, I still think Buffalo would have come back and won, because that's just what this game was. And to kind of loop back to what we were talking about before, I don't know if this game necessarily means you're a fraud. I don't think it means that you're not capable of winning playoff games. But I do think what's nerve-wracking is their ability to not just step on people's throats. And they gave up a 21-point lead. Like, that's a bad loss. I don't want to use the word embarrassing. I don't think that's right, but it was disappointing, especially where you felt like you had them right where you wanted to, and it just completely got away from you. So to have yourself up 21, to have it go the way it did, and then to look back and blame penalties as the reason you lost. I'm not saying the Patriots did that.
They kind of actively did, other than the Carlton Davis thing.
Yeah,
like, he was upset, but they did make it a point, like, we're not blaming penalties.
Yeah, right. But on that note, like, to answer the question, I don't think that they necessarily did make or break the game. I just think the Patriots faltered down the stretch. But there were a couple ones that should have not necessarily went the other way, but like the Davis one, if the ref didn't have an issue and it was just him kind of waiting for the play to go through, a penalty happens no matter if a guy catches it, drops it. unless it's an uncatchable ball. But for the most part, you throw the flag no matter what. So
Yeah, it's again. I know it's being discussed, and I think it's something fans are always going to lean to. But to me, yeah, there was nothing that was like, oh my God, the fix is in sort of stuff. Also, people got to chill with that stuff in general. Like anyway,
my brother texted me during the game it's way too bad that the league is just fixed now. Like, and I'm like, dude, just stop. Like he's a conspiracy theorist, but he's like, no, the NFL's over. Like, they wanted the Bills to win. I'm like, dude,
okay,
Patriots just blew a lead. Come on.
Come on. Why do you think they
just
would
let it happen?
That? Like, it drives me insane. Like, you realize, like, Boston's like a big ass sports market, and having them involved in things is
like,
like,
oh no, we gotta get Buffalo.
We gotta get Buffalo in there.
Understand it's fakeness. You gotta win in December.
Yeah,
the
Patriots being led by a potential generational quarterback in a last place to first place is such a bad story. We've got to stomp on this. In a year when Mahomes is out, we definitely don't want Drake Maye and the Patriots in there. It's the dumbest shit. That stuff drives me insane. Celtics fans are the worst with it. Like, the league wants the Celtics in the finals every year. Every year. It's good.
Yeah.
Just enough. My goodness. Anyway, very straight up question. You've seen the two games. You beat the Bills in Buffalo. You lose here. Who's the better team?
I think the Patriots are the better team.
Okay.
Overall,
I don't disagree.
Because I look at the Bills and I don't look at any players that scare me. I think the Patriots have like 2 or 3 guys that you really need to be worried about.
Yeah, it's tight. I think the Pats maybe by a hair. But again, the fact that they were able to just kind of easily blow a lead like today is sitting in my brain a little bit. Like, you got to be able to kind of put one of those away, because even if they ended up squeaking it out and only ended up winning by 3 or 4 after the Henderson thing, at least you were able to kind of calm the waters a little bit. The fact that they lost is a struggle. So I'll give it to the Patriots, but I don't like the direction where it's headed, given the fact that they blew a lead like that.
Yeah. Okay. And lastly, we'll move on and we'll close it here. You are going to Baltimore next weekend. It's a primetime matchup. The Ravens defeated the Bengals 24-0. Ravens host the Patriots next week. What are we looking at here, guys, with this game? It feels a lot different. And the Ravens do things that aren't great if you're the Patriots, just the way that they play and their ability to run the ball, and that's been leaky for the Pats. Recently, a complete turnaround from the beginning of the season. How do you feel about this matchup? Just looking at it from where we stand right now.
They have a good defense. They're getting a little bit healthier. Lamar Jackson is always a threat, even though he hasn't played his best football this year. I think he, too, is getting healthier. He's been someone who's missed some practice throughout the weeks with different ailments. He obviously missed time earlier this year. But after a win against Cincinnati on the road, a division game for them, they come into this one still fighting for playoff seeding. Patriots, same thing. It's not going to be an easy one. I'm interested to see how they end up game planning it and can attack them. But, again, with Lamar and the types of plays he can make, specifically the red zone offense for them, the Patriots red zone defense, it could be a struggle. So there's a lot on the line, and it's kind of put up or shut up time for the Patriots too here, given that they just came off the bye and then they lost right after it.
I think it's going to be interesting schematically to see how Drake Maye deals with a lot of the blitz looks and disguises he's going to see from Buffalo, especially given it felt like maybe they struggled against those today. And the Ravens offense, I think, is the most talented group that the Patriots defense has seen all season. So I think that's probably going to be the test for this unit, and they're going to need it, because for a unit that a lot of people were saying, well, they don't play a lot of really good offenses, and before, holding the Bills earlier in the year was kind of a thing they could hang their hat on. Now, very much the opposite, or at the very least, it's a wash. So now against the Ravens, you're really going to have to show out. Hopefully, you can get healthier, and you're going to have to make some big plays, because the Ravens will self-destruct on themselves as well. Sure. But that's the kind of group that I've been worried about them facing, especially with like the receiving talent they have, especially at tight end. So going to be a huge test for the defense, and I think a good bounce back opportunity for Drake Maye, but one that he's going to have to take advantage of.
Yep. All right. We will see what happens there. And again, unfortunate today. It was Pats and T-shirt day. Would have been nice in the Foxboro, in frigid Foxboro, with the snow and all that good stuff. Those are normally good vibes. One of my favorite games to be at was the Miami one, when they were, tossing the snow in the stands. That was a ton of fun. But this was a bummer, a bit of a reality check, but certainly no reason to go into full scale panic mode. The Patriots 10-game Win streak is snapped. They fall to 11-3.
Gone.
Buffalo now back in the division picture. So we'll see what goes on there. They lose a 21-0 lead here to the Bills, fall 35-31. And they're mortal. It is what it is. It'll give us something to talk about heading into next week's game. We'll let you know briefly. And again, I got to find the right situation. Throw up Prize Picks, somebody. There it is. One more shout out to our sponsor, our pals over at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app. Use code CLNS. Get 50 in your lineup after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in all of North America. Download that Prize Picks app. Use code CLNS. Get 50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Patriots lose. Much more coverage from CLNS. You can follow Taylor Kyles on Twitter and also check out his written work over at clnsmedia.com. Of course, you should absolutely subscribe to our YouTube channel for Patriots here, Patriots Press Pass, or Celtics All Access, or our Celtics main channel, Bruins, Red Sox. We've got it all. And for Mike Kadlic, check out his stuff over at si.com. Maybe he'll go write about Phillip Rivers after this is over.
Because Joe Biden.
It's not just it's crazy. It's not just not just Patriots for this guy. That was a good one from Prize Picks. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Anyway, but thank you guys again for hanging out with us. Thank you to Taylor and Mike for braving the cold. Rich LeMay down there on the field in Foxboro as well. Amit, super producer, Bailey Kennedy back at the studio, nice and warm. And all of you guys for hanging out and watching and listening. You can also listen to the audio version of the pod if you caught this one late and you want to pick up the rest on your way to work or what have you tomorrow. Much more coverage throughout the week with our boys down there, Mike and Taylor and Patriots Daily, as they dive into the film and tell us what the happened today as the Patriots go down to the Bills. Thank you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Excited.
Take care.
Bye.